And folks, if you're looking for a great show, you're saying, I don't know what show to listen to. Stop listening to Fox News and start listening to Patriot Strong Podcast. Stop listening to fake media and Newsweek and Newsmax and start listening to the Patriot Strong Podcast. Make it your daily mission to listen to this podcast and share it with your friends. Thank you so much, Courtney. Have a great day.
Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the Patriot Strong Podcast. We are back for what might be the last episode of this year. Not entirely sure yet, still working some scheduling things out with a few other people. If you guys didn't catch the episode with Juan earlier this week, please make sure that you go check it out. He has great intel as always. And he goes into one of those long spiels about stuff that you want to pay attention to, things that are going on that might not be at the forefront of our mind or of our goals, but stuff that we still need to keep in our eyes of view, so to say. Now, today I am so excited to bring on Scott Mckay, the Patriot Street Fighter himself. We're going to be talking a little bit about the influences on all of these Christian holidays that we celebrate, the traditions that we participate in. And a lot of us unknowingly so, they're based in pagan roots. You guys can come at me all you want. I know all this, and I know a lot of you do too, but some of you want to just kind of brush it aside and not acknowledge it. But I know Scott is very well versed in all of this, and he's not afraid to step on toes with the truth. That's what he does, bring the truth to the front, and throws down, what is it, the truth hammer, the truth tomahawk, So, Scott, thank you so much for your time and welcome to the show.
Good to be here. What an interesting subject, certainly around Christmas time too.
Yes.
Yeah. So, well, we're definitely going to ruffle some feathers today, I'm sure, but that's the purpose of disrupting the global matrix and the long-term history lie machine. People are bought into the narratives on anything, whether it be religion or politics or true history. People become cemented in what they've been programmed to believe to be true in all things. So when you upend that, it creates a lot of strife and dissension. But there again, we don't we rebuild the new world back in the fashion of Eden unless there's some major disruption coming. So I've never avoided the term or avoided the subject of disruption with information I bring or talk about, because as I said before, look, folks, Eden isn't burning. Eden is burnt. People are worried about losing America. I'm telling you, America is lost. It's gone. What we knew as America is gone. We are trying to restore the republic, to reestablish the values that build the country, including Christian values and everything that goes with that. But the fact of the matter is, because we are easily influenced by the mainstream media or the clowns in America Mockingbird media machine, where they assault us with Saul Alinsky tactics, call us conspiracy theorists, and all this kind of anti-Semitism, which I've been a target of with Raphael Madcow. But again, that's what the price you have to pay when you're going to disrupt the general orthodoxy of a system and a group of people who've done nothing to advance the spiritual ascension of humanity. They've curbed it, limited it, and nearly destroyed it. So no problem talking about this subject at all.
And, it's actually one of my favorite subjects to dive into, just because the more that you learn about the truth of the history of all religion, all traditions, the more, the more that you realize you've been lied to about everything, including religion, and a lot of senses. And like you said, this show might ruffle some feathers, but it might wake some people up, or it might leave those little breadcrumbs for people to want to start searching into it more for themselves. John always tells me to err on the side of caution whenever I ask, these kind of questions, or kind of put stuff up for people on my social media platforms to kind of respond to, because it's kind of a touchy subject, like you said. But people need to realize that what we've been taught our entire lives isn't always necessarily the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think he's right about that. You need to be careful what you put up, because it is touchy. And I think that it applies not necessarily to everybody. Like, for example, if you have a, if you're starting a channel and you're trying to expand your audience, obviously it's much better if you have a very large audience and then you start dropping bombs on the audience. Not just consistent, because you can lose audience members, but at least you have a large enough of a voice or an audience to stuff's going to get out. It's going to resonate with the people. I don't worry about the people it doesn't resonate with. They are not of the ascended frequency to where it's going to, they're not in range of that frequency necessary to spiritually ascend to the next level. Now, that's not a judgment on any level. The fallacy here that causes this dissension in people and the soul at times with information like this, when I say you're not at that ascended level, that has nothing to do with whether you're succeeding or failing in your spiritual life. We are all on different, I guess I'd call it timelines of ascension, but the reality is where they've cornered us and basically been able to bury us is one concept. And I talk about this often. In business, my mentors would say, Scott, this is not a dress rehearsal. This is the actual show, and you've got to get it done like now. In this, you only have one life to live. Complete bullshit. You only have one life to live. We have lived so many hundreds or thousands of lives in this particular density as a soul, who then obviously, when the body is done and used up and we leave that body, people have this vision, we're going to heaven, streets paved with gold and all this stuff. Now imagine that. Heaven is so remarkable, a place this remarkable and beautiful. Why the hell do you have to mention gold? Who cares about gold? Gold's not relevant. If everything's paved with gold, there's so much gold, your house made of gold, it really has no value, right? It's the supply and demand side. It gives great value. So people don't think these things through enough to understand how they create this simplistic version of what we call the afterlife. And I can say this, since I was young, going to church or Sunday school and becoming a born again Christian at 14, and reading the book 20 years, 300 days a year. If truth is I don't want to say if truth is real. If information is pure truth, it'll resonate at the soul level. It's this consciousness that affects your own soul, your consciousness. And you don't have thoughts of doubt. You don't have thoughts of challenging a narrative. But if you do have those thoughts, there's a reason for that, because everything operates in the quantum field. And if it's not working in the quantum field, then something's off. And for me, it's been a lifelong search to understand. And now that when you are searching, and we live in a world now where the veil has been shattered, and the information, the truth starting to come out, then now more and more people will gravitate to something that they don't understand. It goes against general orthodoxy. So I think there are channels like mine. It's kind of expected. We're dropping the hammer on everybody about everything that they did to destroy humanity, so I can get away with it. But I don't think it's a subject that everybody should delve into until there's enough momentum behind it. So you end up becoming fuel for the fire, so to speak, when people start to say, hey, you know what, that makes sense to me, like masses of people. And that's where we are now.
Absolutely. I think that a lot of people are wakening up. They are realizing that, just over the last few years, even, we've been lied to about so much. So they're starting to question everything else that they've been taught or that they've been told, throughout their entire lifetime. And more people are gravitating towards learning the truth, or trying to learn the truth, or gravitating, and kind of outside their comfort zone. And I think that's where, what we're seeing a lot happening right now. Now, you mentioned really quickly, and this is kind of on topic, which version of the Bible would you recommend people start with if they're wanting to starting to read for the very first time? Or which version do you find that is most accurate when with all of the years that you've read and studied?
That's a very tough question, because I don't have an answer for it. I spent my life, I've got my King James Bible over there that I've had since I was 12 years old. My grandmother gave it to me after she put my name on it. She worked for a bookbinding factory, put an engraved name on it. But that's the only Bible I've ever really known. And so I never really thought about which one is more accurate. all I would say is that probably the King James Version is maybe the most well-known, I believe, in modern day. And it's kind of like anything else. Why do I still go to church when I do? If I know a lot of truths, because my intention is an intention of purity and truth. So if I'm seeking purity and truth and I can go to a Bible, King James was an atheist, right? And every time they retranslate these things, they retranslate and put in a message they want for political influence and power over the masses. That's just a simple historical fact.
Right.
And I don't trust any of them either. And I've said to people who get upset, if it ain't in the Bible, then it ain't true. Like, please, you got to stop this. You now have seen how they've lied to us about everything on earth, but you're going to say, oh, but there's one thing in the world that they left untouched, and it's totally pure, the Bible. You got to stop this insanity, folks. I mean, common sense should tell you. And I've said this from many of the church stages we've spoken on for the last couple of years, said the same thing over and over. Religion is the single worst thing that has ever happened to humanity. Religion isn't a construct where God put multiple viewpoints of him or it or whatever God is, almighty creator, a non-terrestrial intelligence calls what we call God, they call source. And then people want to fight over that. I'm like, stop it. It doesn't matter what you call our point of origin, our creator, whatever, quantum field, energy, I don't care. It's still the same power. It's still a divine, intelligent, loving power. So who cares what form it comes in or what it's called, what the name of it is, or is it a he or a her? It just is stupid to me, and people can't see above that. But just in the sense that people are searching truth through Christ's life, I don't think anything but good can come from picking up the Bible, because at least if I hadn't studied the Bible as I have, how could I get to a point of discernment where I'm realizing it's not all here? We know they took out how many books out of the Bible? I think there were 77
Right.
at one point. They whittled it down to 66, an interesting number, by the way. So when you start to feel that, then you can start to search. So from my point of view, you're going in the right direction.
So I
the Bible.
just had a question, like just was asking about that because over the last year, John also bought me the Dead Sea Scrolls Bible and the Ethiopian Bible, which also has all of these additional books that have been removed from the New Living Version, the King James Version. And like you said, every time that they're translated, more is added or more is taken away, or it's translated incorrectly. But we don't have it, or if you don't know that there are other versions outside, or that there are other books that existed within like the original test or the original like Dead Sea Scrolls, and you really have nothing else to like compare your like whatever version that you're studying right now. So I think that's why it's really important to step outside your comfort zone and to go into studying different versions or different books of the Bible. And there are a lot that that comes in truth from our origins, from how we were created, from because obviously it's not just Adam and Eve, two sons, that's it. There's so much more beyond that, before that a lot of people aren't even aware of.
Yeah, I mean, my rationale for why I talk about the things the way I do is the version that we believe in and that they have taught us about our creator or about Christ's life and his influence and everything is massively limiting to the true power of their truth. I mean, I'm trying to expand the power of Christ's reach and the Christ, talking about the Christ consciousness. Here's an example, and this never left me. We believe we're the only creations our creator ever took the time to create, right? Humans. And I asked a guy one time 30 something years ago, when you look in the book of Genesis, it talks about these behemoths, and basically it's referring maybe to dinosaurs or whatever. And I said, how is it that we have these two competing narratives? And he says, well, he said, however he answered it, one of the things he says, well, he says, what it speaks to is how much greater our God really is. to have created more than just us, including the dinosaurs. However, he answered that, it resonated with me, and I thought, yeah, that's actually true. Our Creator obviously has way more power, and I don't know if I say power and influence; those are terms on a matrix Earth level, but greatness, I should probably say, expansiveness and greatness. And I've said that about Christ and his life. If we believe we have the full story, the full truth about Christ and his life, or the Christ consciousness is at full power and revelation, then how the hell are we having 3 million kids taken from their families or off the streets, including babies, every year and put into a satanic ritual murder torture machine at the hands of the Vatican, royal families, rogue military, CIA? Explain that to me, because this has been going on for a long time. You're telling me the power of the Christ consciousness has overwhelmed the planet? That's bullshit. Otherwise, we wouldn't live in this hell on earth right now. The reason is because as Constantine saw an opportunity to take this very obscure, I don't even want to call it a religion. It wasn't a religion. This very obscure group that believed in Christ as a Messiah, and historically had documented his rise, his fall, his rise, and all these things. Well, it was Constantine that adopted Christianity as a state religion, so he could start shaping and molding something for power and influence. Again, it's always about been power and influence. And then whenever they actually put the Bible together, it went through the Council of Nicaea. And going through the Council of Nicaea is taking a piece of legislation and putting it through Congress, whatever it starts out to be. Both sides are horse trading and jockeying for position. Well, I don't want that in there, but I want this in there. We'll put this in there if we can do this, this, and this. And that's what we end up with. It's in the hands of man, in a body of power and control, who want to create a certain narrative on a scale of religion for the masses to get them to buy into it. So how can I possibly trust any body of governance on this planet? And that's where, over the course of time, I've less and less picked up the Bible to read it, because quite honestly, if I want to connect to my Creator, I can do that on my own. And it's just like prayer and meditation. As far as prayer goes, I'm like, people, you should curb the praying. Seriously, back off on the praying, start meditating. And what I'm saying is, you need to shut the hell up, because people just go in prayer and they're asking for things. They're talking. How can you connect to your Creator and have that direct conversation, or the database of infinite intelligence, or the quantum field, or whatever it is? How can you possibly learn anything when you're just talking? Shut up. Just go into silence, darkness, whatever, and work on getting to a quiet place in your mind, which is very hard to do, and just be. Nothing but be. And let those thoughts start, whatever does come into your mind, let that be a guiding influence. That's why we go into meditation, to stop the mind in this busy, circular globe-like hamster wheel that's going all the time, and just occupying your entire thought process 24/7. You go to bed thinking shit, you wake up, boom, you're thinking shit. That's all tied to this false matrix to keep our mind busy. If we can shut it down and let the influence of our Creator bring information to us, we'll get what we need. I don't need to know everything in the Bible to live a successful life in my spiritual journey here. And including making mistakes, right? This is a sin. That's a sin. I'm born a sinner. Well, that's bullshit. I've never done anything. How can I be born a sinner? And my spiritual advisor says, Scott, the only person born without sin on this planet is Christ. But it's not because of what was done or not done. The reality is, you have to go take 7 generations of living without sin. And sin is doing, saying, or being part of anything that harms another human in any way. That's what a sinless life is called, as she explained to me. And she said, so you have to go through 7 generations to come to a perfect being. Joseph and Mary were both sinless. They were of a line of families, or genetic line, where the next person lived a life without sin, which is doing anything to harm another human being. So now you have two of these beings who've got, the end result of 7 generations, Joseph and Mary coming together and consummating. That's another thing that's going to blow people's minds. We believe it was God made Mary pregnant magically. Is that possible? Absolutely. But as explained to me, you have two of these people, 7 generations of sin, were sinless, come together, and their DNA is now fused. And what comes out as Christ is a perfect, sinless being. So there's all kinds of stuff I could talk about like this all day long that make you say, wait a second, what if that's true? What if that's true? That makes more sense than Mary just magically showing up pregnant. Look, the challenge, Courtney, for me is that, and I don't mind disrupting the general orthodoxy of Christianity. Or look, I said once on Facebook, Christ was a Buddhist. I did it on purpose to watch the place explode. Christ was a Christian. Really? There wasn't anything as Christianity. Christ's name was Yahweh or Yeshua. And there's another name prior to that. Christ's true name is not Christ. It came from the Christed one, the Christos. And if you look at the language through all of these eras, and you realize we don't even have his name right. We don't have his birth date right. He was born September, whatever day it was. I think it was September 11th. And I think that's why gematria, numerology, and all those kind of things are why they do things on September 11th. It's Christ's birthday. Yeah. So that rattles a lot of cages, I know, but I'm throwing these at you so you start to actually learn, first of all, disrupt you out of the Walking Dead, and start to actually think. Use your brain. The power of your creator will come in if you're open to truth. Look, if it isn't true, don't worry. I don't worry about where I'm wrong because the truth will eventually reveal itself to me. I'm okay with that. But if you're not afraid of learning the truth, you should be open to anything and everything. Nothing's going to seep into your mind and soul if you're spiritually on the right track.
I love just listening to all of this. And like you said, you could talk about it all day. I could listen to it all day because I don't know everything and I don't claim to know everything. And, little breadcrumbs that people throw out, just like you were doing, it can really stick for somebody. And it makes me want to dive into more of the truth too. Another person that John and I listen to is Billy Carson, I believe his name is, and he has a lot of these ideas and not theories because he claims that they're truths, but a lot of truths that he tries to put out to kind of bring people to a spot that is outside of their comfort zone, that is outside of what they've been taught and the normal, traditional, Monday, Wednesday, Sunday church outside of that, because I think there is more truth than, what's being taught inside those buildings, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and you say people want to be vested in the truth. This came from an atheist, Ayn Rand, who was the most prominent philosopher of the 20th century, objectivism. And the book she's most well known for is called Atlas Shrugged. It's a fiction novel, but I think it's the one book that every school in America should have their kids read. I think everybody who has never read Atlas Shrugged should read it. It's a 1,400-page novel. Once you get 100 pages into it, you will miss appointments. You will blow off work. You'll do everything you can to get as much reading in because you can't put it down. But Atlas Shrugged, and she talks about an Atlas Shrugged, or maybe it's one of her other works. She said, man's only moral purpose in this life is his own happiness. You think about that. Man's only moral purpose is his own happiness. She also wrote a book called The Virtue of Selfishness. And you say, how terrible is that? Well, again, that's where I call out the mindsets that people have. Like, I remember years ago in business, a guy said to me, well, the reason this guy has the biggest business is because he's the most selfless, serving others, serving the most people. I'm like, well, that's bullshit, because serving the most people in business means you're going to make a shitload more money. That's, it's a complete clash. because I know who this person is he was talking about. No, he's doing this. He's helping more and more people because his income is tied. The more people he helps make money, he makes a shitload more because that's supposed to be selfless. That's BS. It's selfish. If you give love to a child, your child, it's not selfless because you get a response of complete and utter love back to you. If you do things for your spouse, maybe things you don't even want to do because you're selfless, that's bullshit. That's a selfish act because you want that good energy and love and getting laid for because you want to get something back for yourself. That is an exchange of light force. It's an exchange of energy, but it's you're giving some of your life force because what that brings back is probably even a higher degree or a different frequency of the male frequency that life force brought to the male. So when you talk about things like this, or when I studied things like this, it rattled the dogma out of my mind of religion. It left my soul constantly empty and wanting. Once I was able to break through this bullshit narrative, then I could start to get on the path of understanding and the pure truth. So I finally got peace in my soul. And here's an example. It's my own personal proof positive. So through this course of time, when I was pulled out of this grave in 2014, my life is destroyed. I'm homeless, crippled, penniless. 8 months after this crash, I'm $500,000 in medical debt. And I'm living with a friend, an elderly Jewish man in California who was a close friend of mine, took me in because I refused a disability check because I didn't want to disrupt my mind. I was believing I'm not crippled and I'm not paralyzed and I'm going to walk again, contrary to what all the experts said. So he took me in. And so through the course of time and 4.5 years of fighting every day to learn to walk again, I wanted to find a greater meaning of what was going on in my life. And I knew when this happened to me after I got out of the trauma, the horror, the injuries, and the pain and suffering, then I realized, and this is I'm in a rehab hospital, and I realized this is what I've been waiting for my whole life, something that was going to force me out of this comfort zone to unleash whatever's inside of me so I could walk again one day. And so in the study of that, what I discovered incidentally were the secret space programs. What's been going on we've never learned about or knew about or has been hidden from us. The non-terrestrial, highly advanced, intelligent beings who have been interacting with humanity for a long, long time. And the off-planet programs, the off-planet infrastructure, the off-planet interstellar craft and things that were built by our military secret programs. And you're thinking, again, you're breaking the narrative because you're talking about there's other intelligent beings, aliens, whatever. It's not in the Bible, all that stuff. Well, it happened to be my track of coming to the surface after being deep in that rabbit hole that changed something in me forever. And that something was I threw God overboard in 1999. I was on a freeway in Los Angeles coming over Laurel Canyon, jumped on the 101, coming home from training clients over in Hollywood. And I exploded into tears out of nowhere. It's a normal day. I didn't know what was happening to me. But I just, at that point, I remembered I went like this. F you. I said the word you to God. I'm done with this bullshit. I spent my whole life trying to walk a path and be a good man and whatever I'm supposed to be, the Bible says. And the only thing I've ever gotten is distress, guilt, fear, whatever. And I'm like, I am done with this bullshit. And I said, go ahead and drop the effing anvil on me right now. Do it now, do it whenever, but I am done. I walked away from the concept of God and organized religion, Christianity, all of it. F you. I've been nothing but miserable. So quantum physics became my new Bible. And the reason I was looking and searching, I know there's a divine order or blueprint, or there's something that can tell me in this world how I can find something that puts peace in my soul and happiness. So that led to, of course, I was already studied epistemology, philosophies, a little bit of other religions, things, trying to learn things. Quantum physics was the answer. it explained everything to me about Christ's power in God's quantum realm, how we can truly affect, how we can manifest just by thinking conscious thoughts, put energy frequencies into motion that affects the entire quantum field that creates what we want. So one night I go to bed, and I think this is in roughly 2018, either late 2017, early 2018, maybe. I went to sleep upside down in my bed. And here's the thing that I was contemplating, because I had learned that the very highly advanced non-terrestrial life, aliens, if you want to call them, ETs, who have lived billions of years further than we are, their sole, if they're benevolent, of course, if their sole purpose is to continue to spiritually ascend through each density until it finally folds back in with source or creator, folds into the creator. And I thought, wow, if there are beings that our creator created that are far more intelligent and advanced than we are, and their sole purpose is to keep spiritually ascending higher and higher so they can come into the presence of the creator, well, holy shit, there must really be a God after all, regardless of what we call it. I go to bed that night. Before I did, and all this information's coming to a volcanic head, and I was like demanding, I need to know. I am saying this in my mind with force. I need to know. You have to give me a sign. I need to know. I go to sleep that night, and I'm stirred in the middle of the night, as we all do at times. And as I stirred a little bit, I felt this presence over my left shoulder. I was sleeping upside down in the bed, facing the wall, sleeping on my right shoulder. And I feel this presence. Nothing touched me, but I just stirred and I felt this. And as soon as I felt like somebody was maybe standing in my room or over my shoulder, my first thought was, is this you? It's what my first thing that I thought was, is this you? And this wave, light form, whatever, photonic force hit me like a bomb. And every hair, I felt on my scalp, my skull, I felt it in my feet, and I got one foot I don't really feel anything in because of all the nerve damage. But I went into this vibrational state of bliss when it hit me. And I just remember when it started, I just remember thinking to myself, don't wake up. Don't wake up, because I'm still in and out. It's like, don't wake up. Don't wake up. Just be. And I accomplished that, which is rare for me. And I just stayed in this unbelievable state of a beautiful light vibration or whatever. And in my mind, I thought, this must be what bliss feels like. And after whatever period of time, might have been 20 seconds, 30 seconds, it just then faded away. And I obviously fell back asleep. But as soon as I realized what had just happened to me, I just felt this unbelievable peace. I went to bed, or I went back to sleep, woke up the next day, and I was a different man. I've had a love for humanity my entire life. Since I was a little kid, I've had this innate love for humanity, and it just exploded. It was I saw homeless people different. I saw everybody different. And that was the first time in my entire life, in 55 years or 52 years, 53 years, I had inner peace. I didn't know what inner peace was. Now I knew I had inner peace, and all this stuff just washed away. So the most unlikeliest pathways back to God, it was the whole concept of intelligent life, learning through the secret space programs, and all of that stuff. Now, that's nowhere in the Bible I read. So is somebody going to dismiss my journey, my trek? And I got into a head clash with, I won't say this person's name, but she's been on the Clay Clark stages. And she's a pastor. And, she's devout pastor from another nation, born and raised. And she came at me one day on the telephone. Oh, that's of Satan. That's of the devil. And I'm like, I ain't going to listen to this bullshit from anybody. And I dropped the hammer right there. You're not going to sit here and judge my pathway to my creator and tell me this. I'm not going to listen to this bullshit. Now, this person's a prominent speaker on the same tour I was on for 2 years, but that's the point. I'm not going to listen. Look, there's nothing you can say to me that you're saying on these stages I haven't already heard 1,000,000 times. And in churches and everyone, it hasn't done shit in my life. What finally did something in my life was the journey I had to go on. Everybody wants all of us to be spiritually cloned. They want us all to be cloned robots, thinking the same dogmatic bullshit. We come here as a soul who chose a body to incarnate into, knowing full well what the circumstances are going to be once that body is put into this world. And we choose that because we need to go through experiences to learn and help elevate our soul to a higher level of understanding. It's that simple. We contract with ourselves. I'm coming back here again after this one. Maybe the planets move into a fourth density spiritual existence. We never learned that the earth is its own spiritual. The earth is a sentient being. It's not a rock with a bunch of trees and dirt on it and us. It's a sentient being. It's on its own spiritual path. It's just in a different form than we are. The sun, same thing, is a sentient being, not a ball of gas, right? All this stuff they teach us to make it so simplistic because we don't get to discover the true power of all creation and our own source. Because if we did, we would wipe these bastards off the planet literally overnight. They've lied to us for thousands of years. How do you think the satanic realm can get control on a planet with beings like us that are created by the most powerful force known to existence, God, Source, Allah, our creator, the Almighty, Butch, Sally, I don't care what you call our creator, we're being stupid and fighting over names. But if that's what we are from, then how the hell has this planet become what it's become? Somebody's not telling us something, or somebody's not telling us everything. Because if we had the full truth of our creator and Christ's influence on the world and his life, we would be in a state of global bliss, which we're headed to now. I believe we're on the verge now. The takedown of this entire satanic architecture is being dismantled as we speak. That was the purpose of Trump's presidency from 2016 till today, led by the military. So anyways, pardon me, once I get started, it's hard to shut me up when it comes to this.
No, I love it. I love because, we've said it a lot of times before, it just takes one thing to stand out to somebody to make them want to learn more of the truth. And I feel like that's what everybody, their end goal really is, to learn the truth. Now I want to know your thoughts, kind of switching gears, but kind of not really. Thoughts on what's going around about the Vatican and the Pope and these portals and the rituals that are going on or went on the 24th. What are your thoughts on all of that?
Well, I know on the 24th, many of us have talked about the military operation that was conducted in December of 2016, right after Trump won the election. They knew Trump was coming in as the official commander in chief, and he was part of the military operation to begin, given the executive power to the military to do what they needed to do within the bounds of the Constitution to take down the satanic empire. On Christmas Eve, every year, whether it's the actual date that Christ was born or not, it doesn't matter to me. It's the intention with which people celebrate that birthday, because it doesn't matter if they have the date wrong. Their mind, their heart, their soul goes into a higher vibrational frequency because we want to honor this being that walked the planet to show us the way. So because that vibration with billions of Christians worldwide, the collective consciousness of humanity is raising so high, which means it's helping us spiritually ascend. The dark powers, the principalities, the dark rulers of the earth have to try to offset it. So they go into where they live in these castles. They go down into the basements where they conduct this satanic ritual abuse, rape, murder of babies, cannibalizing, all this horrible shit we've learned over the last number of years. They do it, they do it underneath the Mormon church in Utah. They do it on the Vatican. They do it through churches throughout the country. People have a hard time with that. Those are the simple facts. These things are done in the epicenter of where we go to try to raise that vibration. As this was all being done on Christmas Eve, which they always do, as a plan was that then they would be left relatively unguarded, or they'd be breachable because they all go down underground to do these horrible things. It's such a low satanic vibration to offset what has been happening on the planet because of the celebration of Christ. And that's when the military operation was conducted to take out all 13 families, to wipe them out. And the word that I had gotten was the only words that Trump said when he addressed these special operations, there were 13 teams, the things that he said to them, he said to each one of them, he said collectively, he said, you cannot fail. You cannot fail. You cannot fail. Meaning they had to get every single one of them, because if one of them got away, then they would, of course, alert the rest of their minions around the world to start, hitting their Samson option nukes and all these things they planted around the world to try to start destroying humanity on their way out the door. So from that point there, obviously now the Vatican being what it is, I saw the videos of the firefight, special operations in a firefight with the Vatican. I think it was 2018 roughly. The Vatican's out of business. It's been taken down. Everything they see today is just, it's a facade, as if things are still going on as normal, relatively normal, because if the rest of the planet who's not prepared to learn what we know now, what you and I know, they'd freak out. There'd be chaos in the streets all over the world. But they had to put a stop to the worst, darkest powers on the planet immediately to preserve as much life as possible, innocents that are being slaughtered in many ways. So you have the Vatican now that has been, quote unquote, fighting for humanity, the good of humanity. Okay, if that's the case, why in one of the tunnels that go underneath the Vatican from there to Jerusalem, as I was told, 1,500-mile tunnel, 150 miles long, 40 meters high, 60 meters wide, solid gold bullion. It's where Trump brought all our gold back, 650 plane loads on a C-5A Galaxy, which is a massive Air Force cargo plane. I've been in them. I've been sitting in a cockpit of these things. They're unreal how much they can fly 6 Abrams tanks. If you know how heavy a tank is, they can fly 6 of those overseas with no refueling. It's massive. They brought 650 plane loads of gold back and repatriated to the United States. If the Vatican is so pure, how do they take this kind of wealth and hide it from humanity when there's starvation, disease, and poverty? On top of that, look at the history of the Vatican. Look at Italy. Look at Rome. Look at the Crusades. These are devout Christian people feeding other human beings to animals in a coliseum or forcing people to fight to the death. All I can say is, are you effing kidding me? And you think that's just normal Christian history that reflects Christ's life? Christians going after other religions to kill them, or other religions going after Christians to kill them? The killing's got to stop. There should be no killing whatsoever. We should be like the Native Americans that Columbus discovered when he showed up, come to America. He landed in the Bahamas first, and read his writings. His writings talk about how stupid these natives really are. They're so stupid that they're going to be easy to make slaves. They traded us everything they owned for virtually nothing. They didn't know what a sword was. They went and picked up a sword and grabbed the sharp end of it and cut their hands, because it was so foreign to them to have weapons to kill people, right? You show up, our quote unquote Christian crusaders come to the United States so they can worship Christ in purity, but look what they did to my people. Look how they slaughtered my people. Look what they did to my tribe on the Trail of Tears. These are Christian leaders like Andrew Jackson, slaughtering this very divine, as I've been told, the natives of this country are the 12 lost tribes of Israel. Is it true? I don't know. It's what I've been told. But why would you wipe out this entire culture that could teach us how to live with the land, live with the earth, rather than live on it? Look at the intrusion all over the planet right now in the form of progress, destroying ecosystems and habitat of God's creation with concrete jungles where people are stacked on top of each other like ants, warring every day for resources and space and everything else. You think our Creator created a planet to centralize us in tiny micro dot places around the country or the world called cities or towns? If we had access to the technologies that are available now, we could live all over the planet. Anyways, I'm just trying to smash the general orthodoxy of.
No, it's all so interesting, and I literally just mesmerized by it all, because there's so much so much that I don't know, and I like learning perspectives and kind of connecting those dots, like, whenever other people break it down. Now I know it was kind of touchy to even do this around Christmas, but one thing that we kind of touched on off camera a little bit was how traditions have been influenced by, like you mentioned before, Constantine trying to create religion with politics. Can you touch a little bit more on that if you wouldn't mind?
Well, Constantine, all I know, and it's more of a rudimentary knowledge and understanding of it, knew of this sect of people that were following this, what they called, I don't even know if they called it Christianity. I don't trust any of the history that's been written in books, but Christianity as its concept of the followers and disciples who wanted to spread the word of Christ after Christ's death and the resurrection, all those things. So I don't know why Constantine picked this sect of people or basically hijacked their message of Christianity. But if you're in a sea of all these other sun god, this god, that god, you have all these pagan gods. How about if we centralize it into one god and capture everybody and pick up the message of Christ being that there was one creator? So you seize upon that, and then you start to you make it a state religion. So you start spreading the message of Christianity, and you're gaining all these followers. And if it has this resonant frequency in my own mind, resonant frequency of truth, which Christ's life and his message did, the ultimate, that frequency then causes people to want to gravitate to it. And you're the one that brought it to them. You're his book's written in history. Everybody knows who Constantine is, right? Became a great power. So he utilized that again to start refashioning Christ's message in a way where just turn the other cheek. Somebody's going to smash you in the face. Just always forgive, turn the other cheek. Well, where's the cutoff before they kill you? I'm supposed to live in poverty. If I want to live a righteous life, basically put down all of my wealth, put down my comfort, and walk with me in poverty, in need, and worry and distress. Really? So if that's the truth, if we're not supposed to seek riches in the material world, what the hell are you telling Jesse Duplantis? What are you telling Copeland down here? Basically looks a complete Satanist to me. What are you telling Joe Osteen? What are you telling John Hagee? What are you telling these people that have multiple jets? How come they're not leading by example and putting down everything in terms of comfort and wealth and walking a righteous path with Christ? But all you people should. All you people who can barely make a month to month on a Social Security check. But if you want to get into heaven, these TV evangelists, they should all be in Gitmo being beheaded. Telling people you have very little money, but that's what's going to make your contribution to God even greater. Here's the address to send it to. Get your credit card. Can people not see this horseshit?
Right.
This is a satanic realm that has overtaken the power of Christ's message. And look what they're doing. Who needs three private jets like Copeland here? You just got to look at that guy. Just look at him. You tell me that looks like something righteous and Christian? Looks like the devil himself to me. So, well, you're getting me unleashed now. We just warmed up for 45 minutes. I'm ready to grab the tomahawk. So, I don't mind shaking people shaking them up like this, because all I can say is look around you. What you've been learning, what you believe, and what you're doing obviously isn't working. We are on the edge of losing earth to Satanism. All right. So what do I do about it? I rattle cages. I spend time in Pastor Bob Joyce's church, friend of mine, and all my wonderful friends there say, well, doesn't he teach the same thing? Yes and no. He says things that hit me. He says, God, go inside. God is within you. Christ tried to tell the same thing. You go inside. God is inside of you. Stop looking up out inside. God lives inside of you. I posted that once. Ye are all gods. Well, it's like saying, hey, we're all gods. And then you have your fundamentalist, lunatics start hammering you. That's blasphemy and all that nonsense. Really? So is your child a human? No, of course. Really? How do you figure? Well, because I'm a human, my husband's a human, we had a baby, it's a human. Okay. Well, I guess the point of origin is a human. So if it came The DNA must be human, right? Okay, if I am made in the likeness and image of my creator, I guess that makes me an extension of my creator, also with the same powers as Christ tried to tell us. These works you will do, and even greater than I. We will say all this stuff. We'll talk like Christians, but nobody actually understands what it means or they even believe it. So if we can do what Christ did, then that means we have the same power of our creator. Christ is God in human form. If Christ says these works you will do and even greater than I guess I'm God in human form too, right? Nobody can think this stuff through and try to piece the puzzle together. That's the truth I believe in. And because most of us don't believe it, and we're supposed to sit and wait for the Messiah, Christ, to come back and drop his feet on the ground and save us, well, that doesn't make any sense. We are here to learn on our own. We are here to spiritually grow on our own. Why don't these benevolent ETs drop on the planet and save us from the shit show we're living in now and creating and all the war and death, murder, and everything else? Why don't they, if they're so advanced? As I've been told, because in a million years it passed or whatever, they've tried 2 or 3 times, but they are barred from that now, because if they do, what do? We instantly turn everything like that into a cult or a religion. That's what we do, because we've been trained to worship. We are trained to worship. It's everywhere in the Bible. I can tell you pastors on stage about worship, worship, worship. That's programming. We are supposed to go inside and seek the power of our creator to get a better understanding and live a life that allows us to spiritually ascend higher and higher and higher. So if we've heard the term worship forever and ever and ever, once again, is it working? Look at the state of the world. Look how many beautiful souls and human beings are slaughtered just in time you and I are sitting here talking. And I bet we've probably had about 500,000 people slaughtered, humans that want to be happy with their babies and living a wonderful life. It isn't working. Somebody's not telling us everything. Somebody's limiting the power of my creator in my own mind. Somebody's limiting the power of Christ's true message in my own world. Because if I'm wrong, why are babies being slaughtered? God would not let that happen. But then again, people come back with the same dichotomy that creates a psychosis. I'm supposed to suffer for my own good. That helps me spiritually ascend. I can tell you in my own life, it's made me nothing but miserable. I've never spiritually ascended ever being miserable. I threw God overboard because I was so internally miserable from this bullshit. When am I spiritually ascending? When I'm happy, when I feel joy, when life is going well for me, when I have love in my life, when I can sit and watch children in a park interact with their parents. It's the most beautiful, magical interaction to watch. Watching dogs and their pets, watching things or experiencing things that make me happy. That's when I feel I want to get closer to my creator. Not when I'm broke, not when I'm face down in the mud financially, not while I'm watching people live wonderful lives and I can barely feed my kids. This is common sense. This is human common sense. That's why I was able to come out from a political perspective, 5 years ago and just say, cut the bullshit. Stop it. Cut the bullshit. Everything you're saying is horseshit. And I can prove it. Look around you. Where's the Garden of Eden? Where is it? They destroyed it. Satan got control of the minions of the clergy throughout the world of religious order. Now, you say again, well, why do Pastor Dave Scarlett's one of my buddies, close buddies. I love that. Pastor Bob Joyce, Pastor Leon Benjamin. I'm leaving out and a bunch of other pastors you and I both know. We were on tour with them, right? They hear me say this shit. They don't ostracize me. I'll be on Pastor Dave's channel in about a week, right? They don't run from me because they know we've got to wake the flock up to the truth. And they do it slowly. They know I come in with a 50 cal to start shaking shit up. Because if people get pissed about that, so be it. I can say what I say on a church stage with a pastor sitting right in front of me. Sometimes I see their faces go ashen white with whatever I say. But at the end of it all, many of those pastors that I spoke on those stages to Reawaken Tour, many of them came back to me backstage beforehand or after, thanking me for what I do. Because I'll say the shit nobody will say on a church stage. Now, the pastor couldn't say that from the church stage, but he can hear me say it and listen to the crowd roar and get excited because they know I'm telling the truth. They feel it. Now, if any of those people are part of his flock that attend there, they can now come up to him and ask him point blank, what I say, is it true? He can tell them. Yeah. If he stands on his pulpit and says that, half the people, if not all of them, are going to walk right out the door. Half of them. But I can open the door with a sledgehammer and a crowbar and make people think about it, and then he can validate it. He can validate it. So that's why I do things the way I do. I'm impatient now. I've 30, 40 years of my life of this and watching the tragedies of the cities in our world, the travesties perpetuated on Black America by a party that's convinced Black America that the other party is the one that did everything they have done to destroy the potential of Black America with ghettos, gangster rap, all creations of white, Jewish, liberal Democrats. The music industry set the stage for rap to become prominent, gangster rap, hose, F this, cop killing, sensationalizing it, taking a whole legion, an era of Black kids growing up on this so they could fill their privately owned prisons. This is all fact. It's out there. You see what I'm saying? So that kind of view of the world for me has made me come in like a wrecking ball. And I've said it's the religious order. They're the ones responsible for safeguarding the flock from the satanic realm. And they've done a miserable job, obviously. So I'm calling them out too. I'm calling all of them out. It shouldn't have been this way. We put that in your hands because you said you could bring us home or protect us from it. And then we find out they're perpetuating it. Some pastors in this country are beautiful, wonderful people. The vast majority are just carrying what they believe is the full truth of the message, which means it's having a good effect because it's coming from the right vibrational mindset. And so obviously it's effective in many ways. I don't tell people stop going to church. I live in the Bible Belt here in Texas. You know how many cowboys come up to me and say, hey, did you find your church yet? No. Most people would feel pressure for that. I don't go to church every Sunday. I don't need to. And I can tell you this, but I want to be among all these people that always ask me, why? Because there's nothing but good spiritual energy of people that want to do good and live a Christian spiritual life. So I want to be around them, whether I think I know more than they do or believe things differently than they do. I want to be around these people because they're doing it for the right and reason. It's intention. The intention is pure. Even if they don't get the full truth, it doesn't matter. The intention is pure. And I just want to be in the vibration of good intention. So, my church is a household of faith in Benton, Arkansas. It's a ways away. It's a 5-hour drive for me to go to church to see Pastor Bob. But I do because I want to be in that environment. So I'm not dissing the church. I'm dissing the programming that the satanic order has put in our minds concerning Christ's full truth. And I'm here to try to do my best to shatter it so we can get to the full truth of it. Because once we do, we rebuild Eden like literally within inside a decade or two max.
I could literally just listen to all of this all day long. And I know that my audience is going to be punched right square in the face with all of this. And you know what? That's okay because sometimes that's what it takes. It takes a wrecking ball to come in and destroy the wall of lies that we've all built up around us, our entire life. So, Scott, I appreciate you taking the time to be on this show to dive into that. I won't bug you any more about it right now, but I'm I will bug you with some more questions later on.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for your time. What are you up to right now, and where can people find more of what you're doing?
You can find me at patriotstreetfighter.com. You'll find the link somewhere at the bottom to the Rumble channel if you want to see all our work. But let me say this. I can tell you this, and if I'm telling a lie, my creator can strike me down here on the show. I love every one of you. Courtney's audience, I have mad love and respect for every one of you, and the ones who may not be a normal audience member. I was where you are for most of my life too. I didn't become happy until I made these discoveries and my soul lit on fire. So if I'm wrong about things I say, look, I don't write scripts for shows. I recently started doing show notes throughout the week and sending them to myself by email. But for 5 years here, I turn on a camera, I don't know what I'm going to say. I have guests, I don't know what I'm going to say because I'm tired. I don't want to do the heavy prep work. I've been at this 30 something years, not the podcasting side, but everything I've done. I'm tired. So when I just talk, I talk. And I can tell you, I have barely above average intelligence. And I can tell you what I'm saying to the world that I talk to on these podcasts, it isn't my intelligent intellect and all my research. It's what comes out of me without thinking about it. And I can tell you that doesn't come from me. That's coming from a higher power. So I have the confidence to say what I say because I know and believe in the bottom of my soul that I'm simply a channel when it comes to these subjects. I'm a channel from a higher power to say the stuff that I'm going to say that could possibly get people mad at me, which I don't care about, because it obviously needs to be said. I couldn't say this shit with confidence if I didn't believe it. If it wasn't in my soul, why would I say it? Why would I want to make enemies of 1 billion, 2 billion people on earth? Nobody wants to. I just know that my calling is that I've got to lead people away from the dry desert lake into where there's actually water to drink from. So I'll say these things because I need you to be shaken up like I was, because my happiness finally came to me once I was free from the bondage of religious dogma, which has controlled the planet. So that being said, yes, you can find me at patriotstreetfighter.com, and pretty much everything you need to know about me is there. You can find the video channels there, and if this resonates with you, you can come and watch our work. And I think you're on a good channel right here. Courtney's building a great channel. She's bringing in the right people, and she obviously knows what she's doing and why she's doing it. So you couldn't pick a better place to be than right here on the Patriot Strong podcast.
Thank you, Scott, for saying that. That's very sweet of you. You guys, first of all, I don't know, Scott, if you are planning on doing another tour ever, but you guys paying attention, if he does, make sure that you get to it, because John and I have been requested to attend all of these conferences, from Charlie Kirk to Clay Clark. We went to Scott's show here in Ohio back in May, and it was one of the best events, hands down, that we've ever been to. And John and I will still comment back and forth on just the difference that the presence of the event was compared to all of these huge events. And I'm not dissing either one of the other two, because they're great events as well. But if you ever do another tour or tour stop or whatever, Scott, please let me know, because John and I want to be there.
Oh, you'll absolutely be there. I think you're delivering a great service to this whole movement. I say that. People know I don't blow sunshine up anybody's hats. That's a fact. You are doing what I did in the beginning. Common, average, everyday person, turn a channel on and start sharing your soul on this great awakening. You did the same thing. You did the exact same thing. Not everybody has the courage to do that. It can be nerve-wracking. I was doing a radio show when I lit up my first podcast. That one, I guess, didn't make me nervous because I've been doing a radio show for about a year. But I can tell you, I was so freaking nervous out there. Every time I shut the microphone off, my whole audience is going to leave me. But we're going to do, I have 2 things on my schedule coming up. I'm going to do kind of a meet and greet gathering. And I got to go look the venue, but it's right here in Frisco. It's called the Sky Pony. It's an art gallery. They have Patriot events there all the time. Juan's been there a couple times. So I'm going to go see it, but I'm going to schedule something here for maybe February to have a gathering right here in the Dallas area. And then Charlie Ward has the event coming up in May at the Trump Doral. I'll be speaking at that coming up in May. So those are the 2 things that are on my calendar at this point right now. But yeah, that was a great event in Ohio. I've always liked to make it where our events, people actually have real connection with the speakers, because the speakers have to sit at their tables and we all mingle together. I like to try to, I don't like the idea. I've spent this at Clay Clark events. I spend very little time in the green rooms. When I'm at these events for a weekend, I'm out talking to the people. That's my tribe. We're looking to build a Christian army. So that's why I spend all my time out from the green room where everybody hangs out, because I'm there for the people, right?
No, I love it. Love to hear it. I love having you on, and so grateful for your time and insight. You guys, I hope you took something from this. Share it. It might be an uncomfortable subject for you, but uncomfortable is okay, and uncomfortable is where you grow. So please listen to this, take notes, share it. Scott will be back again. I'm sure I'll bug him enough to come back on and talk more about this, because this is a subject that everybody needs to dive into. So, Scott, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you and all that you do.
Okay. Much love to you, little lady. And we'll be back in touch soon.
You guys, thank you so much for tuning in. God bless you. God bless this country. And together we're Patriot Strong. Bye, guys.